what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, massive, really good news. Hadi just got his visa, arrived in the United States, and he is with Hani right now. I just confirmed it with Hani. And then Hani also just posted this picture of him and Hadi together, which is really good news because, like I said, when I talked to Hani on Wednesday, Hani was still not sure if Hadi was going to make it here in time for the Olympia. At that point, Hani said, look, he still doesn't have his visa. This is as last minute as it's ever been. I think he said the only time that it had been this last minute, I think he said was 2020, which was the year of COVID. So Hani was worried. He said he was optimistic. But he did say when I talked to him on Wednesday that he was still optimistic because I guess he had just sent a letter that week and they had gotten a response and felt like they were making some kind of progress in this past week because Hadi has been essentially stuck in Dubai for 4 weeks when he was only supposed to be there for a couple of days. But Hani did say he felt like they made some progress this week, but he still was unsure if Hadi was going to make it in time or get the visa in time. So this is really good news, but it is down to the wire. And when I texted Hani today, just a few minutes ago, he said he literally just got him from the airport. So it's really good news that he's here. It's really good news that he's now with Hani and he can finish out his Olympia prep here in the States. But I do still think it's worth considering how is this going to impact his look at the Olympia? Because he had this unexpected month-long stay in Dubai, and now he's only got 3 weeks to prep here in the States, so not as comfortable as a prep before the Olympia as he usually has. But I think the most important thing is that he's here now and he's going to be able to compete. Now, I do wonder what this means for Beirut if this was... You know, Hadi has gotten the visa every time that he's competed at the Olympia, but with this being, it seems like the most stressful process of him getting it out of all the times and the lengthiest and the most delays, you know, because of the situation that's going on over there in Iran. If Hadi has gotten it every single year, and this year was the hardest, and Beirut hasn't gotten it every single year that he applied, I think that probably doesn't look good for Beirut's chances of getting it, of this being the year that he gets it, especially considering it was so tough for Hadi. And I mean, it was so tough that Hadi has gotten it every year. In 2 days ago, Hadi's sponsor didn't even know if he was going to make it in time. And we're 3 weeks out. I'm very relieved that they were able to push this through at the last minute, though, because when I saw those initial posts about Hadi getting his visa, I was really excited. And then when I asked Hani, and Hani said no, I was like, man, I was really hoping that he did. Because I think for me, the biggest wild card, I think the biggest what if in the Olympia lineup for me is Hadi. We've seen Derek, we've seen Samson, we've seen Nick. We've seen them all go head-to-head in different ways. Derek and Samson at the Arnold, Derek and Nick at the Pittsburgh. But Hadi is like the one major factor that was missing from all this. We literally haven't seen him on stage since the Olympia last year. We don't know how much better he looks, if he looks better. We really don't know how he's going to stack up. Because what we did see was Derek beat Samson, the reigning Mr. Olympia. Nick almost beat Derek at Pittsburgh. So that kind of left who's the favorite kind of at a toss-up, I would say, at this point. And I think I've phrased it this way before, but if Derek is the favorite on paper going into the Olympia right now, the only person that has beaten Derek recently that Derek hasn't beaten in 2025 is Hadi. Because keep in mind, Hadi was second at the Olympia last year, Derek was third. And yes, Derek beat Samson at the Arnold, but the only guy that beat Derek that we haven't seen Derek beat this year is Hadi. So if Derek is the favorite, Hadi is the guy that I'm thinking about the most as the biggest threat to Derek. And I'm curious about so many other things going into the Olympia. Like I said, Beirut, but I'm also really, really curious about what's the deal with Big Ramy. We've heard nothing from him since there was that couple week span where he was posting about competing again in 2025 and trying to get his title back at this year's Olympia. Is Ramy just going to show up? Are we going to see no updates, no nothing, no interviews, no anything, and he's just going to show up at the Olympia that day and shock everybody? Is that the situation that we're looking ahead to? Because like I said, I'm thinking of Hadi as like the biggest wild card, but potentially if Ramy does show up, I think then maybe he's a massive wild card. Now, next up in the news, the latest physique update from Terrence Ruffin, and we are now pretty much exactly 3 weeks out from the 2025 Mr. Olympia. Terrence looks absolutely incredible, in my opinion, in this physique update. I've always said that, you know, Terrence and Logan Franklin are probably my two favorite classic physiques as far as how I feel like their physiques represent the division. And obviously, Terrence had some legendary battles where he was runner-up to Chris Bumstead. But then his placings at the Olympia slipped a little bit. Then we didn't see him on the Olympia stage last year. Then he's back this year. He won 2 really big classic physique shows. I still don't think we saw him at his all-time best at either one of those 2025 showings. I still feel like from a conditioning standpoint, the condition that he brought to both of those shows was decent, but I don't think it was where it needs to be for the Olympia. I think, you know, some of these updates like what you're looking at here, I think is a little bit more in the realm of he's on track to bring better condition than he did to either of those 2 shows this year. And look, I mean, I think it's fair to say that the judges certainly seem to like his look and favor his physique. I mean, he won arguably 2 of the biggest classic physique shows of the year. So the judges clearly like his look. But it is worth pointing out that at his last Olympia appearance in 2023, he had slipped all the way down to 5th place. So I guess the question is, and even the year before that, he was 6th at the Olympia. So he improved by 1 placing from 22 to 23, but his last 2 Olympia showings, he was outside of the top 3 at both of them. So will he find himself back in a potential runner-up position or even in the top 3 this year? Or do you see him as still being maybe a 5 or 6 guy? Or now that Chris is gone, is Terrence back in that conversation? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Now, the final story that I have for you guys today. I thought this was an interesting topic of conversation as we're now very close to the Olympia. We're 3 weeks out. I wanted to look at, this is the latest update that we've seen from Neckzilla Rubiel Mascara. This was 5 weeks out, this training video. And I saw a comment on one of my recent videos where someone said, who do you think will place higher at the 2025 Mr. Olympia? Urs Kalasinski, who won 2 open shows, or Neckzilla, who also won 2 open shows? And I think the answer to that question for me is Urs. Now, bear with me here. Obviously, Neckzilla is significantly bigger and more muscular than Urs. But I think, for me, they both won 2 shows. Urs won his shows on 2 things: shape and insane condition. And by shape, I mean his structure, his aesthetics, his taper, those positive attributes that he brought from classic physique, and then absolutely gnarly conditioning. And Neckzilla won, I think, primarily on size. I think he has almost nothing aesthetically pleasing about him, so he doesn't have any shape working in his favor, and better conditioning. So he has really good size, and he finally came in decent condition. I still wouldn't say stunning. So that's how I compare Urs and Neckzilla. Neckzilla is significantly better, but I see Urs with I think his conditioning will be way ahead of Neckzilla, and I think his shape is and will be way better than Neckzilla, and Neckzilla will only have him on size. So I think if you're going to talk about which one of the 2 of them is more likely to be in the top 10, I would say Urs, and if they're both in the top 10, which one of them do I think will place higher? I would also say Urs. And as I watched this video, even though this was 5 weeks out, you know, we just saw a video of Hadi from like a week ago where Hadi has like these deep separations in the chest, doing the same movement, doing the pec flies. I'm not seeing a whole lot of detail from Neckzilla in this training video at 5 weeks out. But I thought that would be an interesting talking point to end this video on, is who do you think will place higher at the Olympia? Let me know in the comments below, Urs or Neckzilla. I think that'll be very fascinating to see. So that's going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. Just kind of a short one. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon if you have not already. And as always, I love you guys, appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.